interpreting the heart line in palmistry, exploring its meaning in the hands of this particular male. Before I start to give this particular answer to you regarding the heart line, I would like to mention out here that each and every line can be associated with success or failure. Generally, everybody wants to know about the money line, but I would say that each line is important in some way or the other, and we can correlate it towards success of a particular person. So even the heart line matters a lot in one's success. Simpler the line, the better it is considered to be. Simpler line basically means a simple, deep, clear line, as you see in this particular case. This is a very, very simple line which I have drawn. Now let us take a look at what this particular person's heart line looks like. In the initial phase of the heart line, there appears to be few branches, something like this. So having branches over the heart line in the starting portion means love for children, and children might get attracted towards this particular person. This is the first thing. So it's okay to have these branches at the starting portion of the heart line. As the line progresses, you would notice that there is a break out here. This is a break. The line restarts again, it kind of ends. Again it restarts, and there could be probably another break that might be out here, and then the line again starts, then probably there's another break, then there's another break. So there are constant some breaks that you see on the line of heart. The breaks on the heart line basically signify that there could be some abrupt ending in a relationship or a partnership. And we can also try to correlate these breaks that you see out here. We can also correlate the break as to in terms of your work profile as well. What I'm trying to convey out here, that the person might be having good success in their professional life or whatever, and yet they would suddenly end that particular work and start to do something else. So these breaks are not good, and it just means that the person would completely leave one thing and start to do something else. And these breaks are there constantly in this particular person's life. So this is one aspect. So more stability should be there. You should bring more stability into your work. That would be my suggestion. Now these breaks could also mean an abrupt ending in a relationship or a partnership. So those are the things also you need to take into account, because it could be personal relationship or business relationships as well. So both of these basically get affected. Then apart from these breaks, you would also notice that there are few branches that are hanging downwards, pointing a little bit towards the headline. This is basically the headline. So these branches are also basically indicative of the person getting anxious, and anxiety, and those kind of issues can also come about due to these branches. We call these branches as lines of attachment or lines of distraction, or we can say line of falling for temptations. So in that way, it is considered to be, these branches are considered to be negative line, because the person is not being able to completely commit themselves, dedicate themselves to one thing and only one thing. So it's always advisable that the person should dedicate their life to one thing, and only then the possibility of huge success can increase. So this is regarding the heart line that we have spoken about. Now let us interpret the headline in palmistry and explore the meaning attached to the headline in palmistry. The starting point of the headline is somewhere at this particular point, and this is the line of head. The head and the lifeline are joined together at the initial start for a little bit longer duration of time. So such people are cautious, shy, hardworking, and contemplating. So this is one aspect attached to these particular lines. These people also could lose opportunities in the earlier portion of their life, and they might get success more towards the later portion of their life. So this is one way of looking at it. I will try to tweak the image a little bit, darken the image a little bit, so that the lines are visible in a much better way. So let's basically change the settings. So we were talking about the headline. Even the headline should be very simple kind. Simpler the line, the better it is considered to be. Now what is happening is, this is the earlier portion of your life headline till the age of 18. This is from this portion till this portion is till the age of 35. So you would notice that there's appearing to be an island like formation on the line of head, and this island is not purely under the Saturn mount but a little bit closer to the Saturn mount. So having an island on the line of head could bring about some amount of mental issues in one's life, problems in the head. It could be just plain simple, just a little bit mentally troubled, or it could basically catapult into more trouble in the head. So this is the first aspect. And all these things are happening at a time when it is the important portion of your life. Important portion of your life is when you're building your life. This is the portion where the troubles are showing up. So in that way, it is kind of negative to have these problems in the earlier portion of your life. Then you would also find that there's kind of a little bit backward lines from the headline. This is the headline. There are backward lines pointing a little bit towards the area of Mars negative area. Mars negative area is the area of anger, aggression, and fire. So having a line kind of point from the area of Mars and join the headline, it basically signifies some amount of anger and aggression entering this particular person's mind. And once anger and aggression enters the mind, the chances of taking the right decision decreases. So my advice would be to reduce anger and aggression, and if you are able to reduce your anger and aggression, the chances of your success increases. So these lines could and these anger and aggression issues could also relate to problems in one's personal life as well. See, this portion of life till the age of 35, this is the portion only two problems mainly are there. The first problem could be due to your profession, or the problem could be due to your personal life. These are the main problems that most people faces. So this is what I can say regarding these two lines out here. Now there's also a good line that we see. Probably this is a line that we are referring to. This is the line of head, and there's an upward line pointing towards the area of Mercury. Now what is basically, first we have to understand what is the headline. Headline is the line of your thought process, the mental process, mental stability and instability. If the line is simple, deep and clear, there's no mental instability. When there's the island, these backward lines, those are basically signifying anger and aggression and some kind of a negative aspect. So this is what the headline basically means. Headline is not the line of intelligence, but an upward line from the headline pointing upward. It is said that if you have these kind of lines to point towards the Mount of Mercury, it could mean upgradation of your knowledge, like retraining yourself or upgradation of your knowledge. According to the Palmistry book, it is mentioned that if you have these lines, you could be a good author. But my take is that not every person becomes a good author. So these lines could also mean upliftment of your mind. By upliftment of your mind basically means something to look up to, like some good things happening in your life. Those are the things that may get applied out here. The upward line is always good to have. Now, and you'd also notice that there are few lines originate on the area of Mars negative. Mars negative is the area of anger, aggression, and fire. Mars is a red planet. Red means anger, aggression, and fire. So if these lines are kind of originating on the mount of Mars and kind of touching the headline, it brings about some problems mentally if it touches the headline. So you notice few lines are kind of touching out here before the age of 35, and few lines kind of go and touch even after the age of 35. So some smaller little problem might continue to be there in one's life. Apart from this upward line, there's also another upward line at the age of 35. So both these lines are good indications to have. Now let us interpret the Mars mount and the lines on the area of the Mars. Let us interpret the meaning of Mars mount and the lines on the Mars mount. This is the area of Mars mount, and this is also the area of Mars mount. This area is known by the name of Mars negative area. This is the area for planes of Mars, and this is the outer Mars. So there are three different Mars that a person may have. So Mars being a red planet, this may have to do even with the stomach part, and if there are more lines over the area of Mars negative, then basically the chances are stomach related issues can crop up in one's life. If there are more lines out here, grill-like formation, confusing kind of lines are there, grill-like formation is there, what's going to happen is that the person's fire would be out of control. Like the person may get angry over wrong issues, and the fire is misguided. There are also a little bit more lines out here as well on the area of planes of Mars, and this is the area of tempers. So the temper also needs to be within control. So these are the things that you should take care about. Now let us know the meaning of Mercury mount and the lines on the mount of Mercury. Mercury mount is a very, very important mount to refer to regarding success. If there are good lines over it, the chances of success increases. If there are bad lines, the chances of failure increases. So the good part is that there are perpendicular lines that you see over the mount of Mercury. So these are considered to be good lines. How we differentiate between good or bad, I'm just giving you I'll just give you an example. Something like these particular lines that you see out here, or these kind of lines, are considered to be negative. If these kind of lines were on the mount of Mercury, it would basically signify miscalculations and miscommunication is likely to be there. But we don't see this kind of an indication on the mount of Mercury. So if they are perpendicular lines over the mount of Mercury, this basically signifies that the person is trying to master their skills on a daily basis. So people who do have strong Mercury line, reasonably strong Mercury line, they basically signify those people are good at the work that they do. Now, what does basically Mercury signify? See, Mercury can be any subject. Mercury could be something like law, physics, chemistry, biology, doctor, engineer, lawyer, statistician, politician. Everything is basically Mercury. Any knowledge, any communication, any calculation, all of them is basically Mercury. And if you do have a good amount of Mercury, the chances of your success, chances of you being able to calculate in a good way and communicate in a good way increases. And that is basically the main reason for your success. So multiple lines over the mount of Mercury are considered to be good according to the Palmistry book. If you have these multiple lines over the mount of Mercury, then the person could be a good doctor. This is what the book says. But I would say that it's not necessary that every person who has these multiple lines would become a doctor. or a healer. It could just mean that the person has got multiple set of skills. Now, the weaker lines, if they are very very weak lines, there are few weak lines as well, so we can ignore those weak lines. Weaker lines means that the person may not have sharpened those skills. We would only consider 2 or 3 4 lines. These are good enough for your success. It is not necessary to have too many lines in order to be more successful. Just even if a person had one line, this particular line, we would have still said that the person's chances of their success increases. So this is what basically we can signify by the lines of Mercury. The lines of Mercury at the initial stage, they are not too good, but on the area of Mount of Mercury they are better. So we would just consider mainly on the Mount of Mercury instead of these particular lines. If these lines were also good, we would have certainly said it to be a super excellent sign to have. Even some people, they have even this particular line in a very very good way. Money line interpretations out here. Money line is the line of resources. Money line is the line of finances. But we should look at the money line from every aspect of one's life, not necessarily only and only related to finances. So the money line that you see out here is, these are multiple lines that you see out here, and all these lines are little bit before the age of 35, and this is the other line. So my take is that, let me just draw what a common person would have. Common person doesn't mean an unsuccessful person, but generally people, what kind of a line they may have. They may have a line something like this. This is the headline and this is the heart line. So this intersection is age 35 of the money and the headline. This intersection of the heart and the money line is age 53. So this portion is before the age of 35, and this portion 35 till the age of 53, and this portion is after the age of 53. So my take is that in the age before the age of 35, the lines are a little bit unstable out here. Lines become much more stable somewhere at this particular point, and this portion, the line is becoming a little bit more stable compared to the earlier portion of one's life. Now when the money line is a little bit unstable, it may signify some problems that the person may face financially or in the personal life. We also try to relate personal life also, because if our relationships go bad, automatically what's going to happen is our finances are also going to get affected. So this is the reason why when there's problem on the money line, we would certainly say that there could be problem in one's personal life as well. Sometimes it could also be related to health, but mostly sometimes it is mainly correlated to your relationships part. So this is the reason why you need to be a little bit careful in the earlier portion of your life. In the later portion, things can become much stable. Even on the let us basically now move to the right hand, and this is the right hand. Let's move to the left hand. I won't repeat what I've spoken in as far as when I was speaking on the right hand. Similar indication, I'm just pointing out the break on the heart line is also seen in the left hand. This is the left hand. There's a break out here, there's a break out here. So there are few multiple breaks on the heart line. So I would not tell you the meaning, because I've already mentioned that particular meaning to you in the earlier portion. There's also island on the headline. Headline island sometimes could lead to mental isolation. So my advice to you would be, don't be mentally isolated at all. Try to have people around you, and people should be very good people who can bring you out of problems. See, even if we are facing few problems, if we are in the right company and right habits, the chances of coming out of the problem increases. If we have bad company, the chances of more negative things happening in your life basically increases. So this is what you need to take care of. In the earlier portion of the lifeline, so this is basically the lifeline. You notice this is the lifeline. The quality of the lifeline in the earlier portion is not the best, but as suddenly what happens is that there's a major change that happens suddenly at one particular portion of life around the age of 35, a little bit maybe ahead as well. So this is the lifeline that we were talking about. Just notice this portion of the lifeline. It is not the best, but suddenly there's an improvement on the lifeline. The line becomes much more clear, deep and clear. So that's what it could bring about much better health in the later portion of your life. Later portion, what I'm trying to say is between the age of 35 till the age of 40, things are likely to improve manifold. These lines are there to some extent, so they kind of these grill-like formation. A grill basically looks something like this, horizontal as well as vertical lines. These are comparatively considered to be negative lines. They overwork a particular amount, and overworking of any amount is considered to be a negative sign to have. As far as the money line goes, you would notice again there are breaks on the money line. Notice the break out here. Then the lines are very, very thin, barely visible, and again they break around the age of 35. So these are constant breaks that bring some amount of financial instability in one's life, and when there's financial instability, it could also affect other portions of our life as well. So we need to be very selective and bring more financial security around you. If you bring more financial security, the problems you may face may not get applied in your life. In all, I would say that your Mercury mount is good. Mercury mount in itself, if it is good, Mercury is also the area for technology. Mercury is also the area for skills calculation, networking, social media. All these kind of things are basically depicted by Mercury. So Mercury mount good, that in itself can bring you success. So I would kind of end the video out here. Before I end the video, I would just speak about one or two more things. Attachment lines is also known as the marriage line in palmistry, so we would just talk about those as well. On your hand, you notice that there are multiple lines of attachments, and then that's okay, like it's nothing wrong. The lines that are nearer to the heart line, this is the heart line, this is the earlier portion of the attachment, this is the mid portion, and this is the later portion. According to the book basically says that earlier portion is early 20s, mid portion is mid 30s, and the later portion is after the age of, let's say, 40-44. Not every person basically goes in for a new relationship at that particular age, but I'm just describing. So this is 18-19, this is 20-25, 30-35, 40-45, 50-55-60. This is how the book is mentioning. But sometimes what the book is mentioning, we don't have to follow it exactly. We would say that these lines are varying between the age of 25 till the age of 44. This is just an approximate that I'm giving you out here. Now, having multiple lines do not necessarily means that you would go in for multiple marriages or you would have an extramarital affair. It is not a necessity that these things are going to happen. Sometimes these lines could be only superficial attachments, not very deep attachments, and those could be purely one-sided attachments as well. So it's not a guarantee that you have got one line and you would have just one marriage. So it's not a guarantee. Even in the this is the left hand, you would notice that there are 2 or 3 lines. So 2 or 3 different attachment lines are there at various points of your life. So some people think that if they have got 4 lines, 4 marriages or 4 affairs, so it's not a necessity that it's going to happen. I just had one or two more lines out here. This line became a little bit more visible in this particular hand, although it's not a very deep and clear line, but yet because it's showing up in the hand, this area is the area of Jupiter, the pointing finger. Pointing finger is the finger of administration, religion, politics, honor. Having a line something like this and join either the lifeline or the headline is always considered to be good, and it takes a person to a high position in one's life. So this is a good line, although I would have rated it to be much better if it was having much more depth in it, depth and clarity in it. It would have been much better. As such, I don't find any sunline out here in this particular hand, and some people, they may have a long sunline and the age is something like this. Out here, age 30, 32, 35, 44, 53 and beyond. There does appear to be very barely visible lines out here. These are the lines that I'm referring to. Not very clear, and this is also the line that we are talking about. Not very good line, but it's not a necessary. I've seen many famous people also that they may not have this particular line. Although having a deep and clear line is always good. A deep and clear line brings clarity into your life, clarity as to what you want to do in your life. If you do have dim, unclear kind of lines, it kind of increases doubts and self-doubt within you. So removal of doubts is necessary. And this is the right hand. Briefly, let's take the left hand also, what it is showing up in the left hand also. In right hand, you notice that these lines that we were talking about, it becomes much more clear around the age of 50 or so, 49, 50. These lines are kind of pointing towards the area of sun. So around that particular age, things can be expected. This portion, the lines are very dim and clear, so it just could mean lack of clarity, total clarity. And I would advise the person to be more, if the person is lacking clarity or having doubts and self-doubt, try to remove doubts and bring more clarity into your life. That is going to be good for you. These lines also are sun line. They are there, but if it was deeper, I would have rated it to be much better. Although the presence of the line does give success, I don't deny that. Some people refer these lines to be the luck line, but I have kind of renamed it. It's not in the book, but I've said that it's mainly, these lines are related to how much clarity we are having in our life. See, people who are not successful, the main reason for lack of success is they don't know what they want to do. So, and people who may not have too much of knowledge, but when they know what they want to do, they become much more successful. And that's it. I would end the video out here. Thank you for watching this video. Bye and take care.